Good morning. So now we move on to the second type of glaucoma called as primary open angle glaucoma. Primary open angle glaucoma is a chronic progressive optic neuropathy leading to optic nerve damage with loss of visual function. So it is a type of glaucoma which leads to optic nerve damage, that is optic atrophy. It is irreversible loss of vision. And intraocular pressure is one of the major risk factor for this type of glaucoma. So primary open angle glaucoma is asymptomatic. Male to female ratio is same. Unlike narrow angle glaucoma, where females have more, primary open angle glaucoma is asymptomatic and male to female ratio is same. Intraocular pressure is more than 21 millimeters of mercury. There is glaucomatous optic nerve damage with open angle and characteristic visual field loss is present which starts from periphery. There are different risk factors like it is associated with gene GLC1A seen mostly in the older age group, that is 7th decade. Family history is positive in 10% of cases. Other risk factors are diabetes mellitus, myopia, migraine, arterial hypertension, steroid responders, central retinal vein occlusion, and retinitis pigmentosa. Coming to pathophysiology, there is increase in extracellular material leading to decrease in trabecular meshwork cellularity and altered cytoskeleton in the trabecular meshwork, which leads to defective trabecular meshwork cell function, which causes increased outflow resistance. So, in short, there is increase in the outflow resistance, which causes increase in intraocular pressure. So, the site of resistance is between the trabecular meshwork and the Schlemm's canal. So, the portion of the trabecular meshwork called as juxtacanalicular trabecular meshwork is uh, basically at fault, and there is sclerosis of juxtacanalicular trabecular meshwork and canal of Schlemm, leading to resistance to aqueous outflow, which leads to loss of ganglion cell and thinning of nerve fiber layer in retina. Clinical features of open angle glaucoma are usually patients are asymptomatic. They are old patients in their 7th decade. They present with headache and frequent change of presbyopic glasses. They slow dark adaptation, but the defect in visual fields are rarely noted. Intraocular pressure is more than 21 millimeters of mercury. Fluctuations in intraocular pressure may be noted. On examination, there may be cupping, which is typical of glaucoma, and visual field loss is seen on perimetry. Intraocular pressure is usually more than 21 millimeters of mercury on more than one occasion. There is exaggeration of normal diurnal variation. Normal diurnal fluctuation or variation of intraocular pressure is between 3 to 4 millimeters of mercury. If the variation is more than 5 millimeter, that is suspicious of open angle glaucoma, and if the diurnal variation is more than 8 millimeters, it is diagnostic of open angle glaucoma. There may be asymmetry of intraocular pressure of more than 5 millimeters between two eyes. The baseline investigation or baseline test which will point towards open angle glaucoma are on typical history of ocular history, systemic illness, family history. Pupillary reactions are usually sluggish. Applanation tonometry and diurnal variation will point towards high intraocular pressure. Water drinking test may be done, which is a provocative test for open angle glaucoma. If the corneal thickness which can be measured by pachymetry. If it is more than 555 microns, that may cause falsely high intraocular pressure, and if it is less than 540 microns, it may be a falsely low intraocular pressure recording. Hence, corneal thickness measurement is one of the investigation for open angle glaucoma to know the exact intraocular pressure measurement. Main investigations which are needed to diagnose open angle glaucoma are intraocular pressure by Goldmann applanation tonometer, angle assessment by gonioscopy, and the angle should be open, visual field testing by perimetry, corneal thickness by pachymetry. There are newer modalities like short wavelength automated perimetry, Heidelberg retinal tomography, and OCT, which can pick up glaucomatous changes earlier than perimetry. Coming to optic nerve head changes which are seen in glaucoma. This is a normal disc of a normal person which shows cup to disc ratio of 0.3. There is usually a symmetry of cups in two eyes and evenness of neuroretinal rim which is healthy and pink in color. Disc changes which are typical of glaucoma are large cup, that is CD ratio is increased, which is on your right side as compared to the left side which is normal. There is thin atrophic neural rim, large deep cup with visible lamina cribrosa, distorted lamina cribrosa. These features are typical of glaucomatous cupping. Isn't rule. Due to increased volume of nerve fibers in the inferior portion of optic disc and that coming from the temporal retina, the nerve fibers which enter the optic disc has broader inferior or the thicker inferior neuroretinal rim as compared to the superior rim, and the nasal rim is thicker as compared to the temporal rim. This isn't rule is not followed in glaucoma. Variation in cup to disc ratio. Cup asymmetry between two eyes of more than 0.2 is suggestive of glaucoma. This is a fundus photo of same patient having glaucoma in the left eye. So coming to the disc changes which are seen in glaucoma, vertically oval cup, that is the first sign of glaucoma appear in the form of notching in the cup which is in the vertical direction causing vertically oval cup. There is also asymmetry of cups between two eyes. If it is more than 0.2, then that is suggestive of glaucoma. Splinter hemorrhage at the margin of the disc, atrophy of nerve fiber layer, marked cupping, nasal shifting of blood vessels, bayoneting sign, lamellar dot sign, and in the end, total bean pot cupping is noted. And finally, total optic atrophy is found, which is typical of glaucoma. This is a photograph showing all the signs which are typically seen in glaucoma, that is thinning of neuroretinal rim, nasalization of vessel or nasal shifting of the blood vessel, CD ratio of more than 0.7, here it is 0.8, bayoneting sign, disc margin hemorrhage is seen, lamellar dot sign, and polar notching, that is vertical elongation of cup. These are all features of disc changes in glaucoma. Coming to field changes, which are noted by Humphreys automated perimetry. So, basics of visual fields. Nerve fiber layer defects correlate with the visual field defects. Superior and inferior pole of the disc are more susceptible to damage, and superior and inferior scotomas are found in the early stages of glaucoma. The nerve fiber loss is proportionate to the visual field loss in cases of glaucoma. If there is a nerve fiber loss in the inferior neuroretinal rim, as is seen in this figure, you get a proportionate scotoma in the opposite visual field as seen in the right side of the visual field. These are the normal nerve fiber layer striations which are seen on the left side as white striations. That means the nerve fiber layer is intact. On the right side of the picture, you can see a white arrow pointing towards the nerve fiber loss which is seen in glaucoma. This is a diagrammatic representation of optic nerve of retina on the visual fields. So we know that the optic nerve is situated on the nasal side of the retina, but on the visual field it is depicted in the form of blind spots and which are seen on the temporal side of the visual field. So this is how you have to draw the visual field defects for the glaucoma. Draw a vertical line, then a horizontal line, and draw 3 circles. These are the circles representing 3 isopters, that is 10 degree, 20 degree and 30 degree isopters. The glaucomatous field defects are seen within 30 degree isopters of the visual fields. Now we know that we have to draw the optic disc and it is situated between 10 and 20 degree isopter on temporal side. So here we have to label correctly, that is right eye, nasal, temporal and position of the blind spot. Then we draw the early scotomas which are seen between 10 and 20 degree isopter on the nasal side. So these are the scotomas which appear in the beginning of the early scotomas called as paracentral scotoma. When these scotomas join with the blind spot, it is called as sedal scotoma. When they join with the horizontal raphe, it is called as arcuate scotoma. When you have similar scotoma in the opposite half, it is called as double arcuate scotoma. Then we have altitudinal defect and advanced field defects. So visual field defects which are seen in glaucoma are paracentral scotoma, arcuate scotoma, double arcuate scotoma, nasal step, altitudinal defect, advanced defect and temporal wedge or temporal island of. This is a arcuate scotoma. The site of damage is shown in the right side near the inferior pole of the optic disc, and the area which is served by this damage is also shown in the pink color. Now correspondingly we get a field defect within 10 to 20 degrees of fixation which arches from the blind spot and ends on the nasal raphe. This is called as arcuate scotoma. The altitudinal defect is seen in the similar fashion. When it is a broader defect, then it is called as altitudinal defect. The double arcuate scotoma, when the defect is also seen in the other hemisphere, we get a double arcuate scotoma. And in this, we get also a Roney step, where on the horizontal raphe, we get a step-like defect, that is called as horizontal raphe, because the superior fibers do not cross the horizontal raphe and mix with the inferior fibers. So we get a defect called as Roney step. Advanced defect are seen here with the retention of small central island and inferior temporal field of vision. This is advanced glaucomatous defect. This is another example of scotoma which is there with a small central tubular vision, and the optic disc is showing 0.9 cupping. So the field changes which you get serially are isopter contraction, bearing of blind spot, small paracentral scotoma, which is seen as small areas of scotoma in the superinasal quadrant between 10 to 20 degrees isopter, Seidel scotoma, Jerem scotoma, double arcuate scotoma, Ronnie's step, tubular vision, temporal island, and total blindness. Now, the diagnostic criteria for open angle glaucoma are three: intraocular pressure changes, disc changes, and visual field changes. When the intraocular pressure is more than 21 millimeters of mercury, or diurnal variation is more than 8, or if the pressure difference between the two eyes is more than 5, that is also suspicious of open angle glaucoma. If the tonography is less than 0.11, or if the water drinking test is more than 8 millimeters of mercury, these are all features of open angle glaucoma. Coming to disc changes, CD ratio more than 0.5, or asymmetry more than 0.2, or vertical elongation of cup, polar notching, narrowing of neuroretinal rim, disc hemorrhage. These are features of disc in open angle glaucoma. Visual field changes are Seidel scotoma, arcuate scotoma, double arcuate scotoma, Ronnie's step, peripheral island of vision, and central tubular vision. Management of open angle glaucoma. Treatment of open angle glaucoma. Initially, we begin with a medical line of therapy with either beta blockers or prostaglandin analog as the first drug of choice to reduce intraocular pressure. Then, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors are added if the pressures are not controlled as second line of therapy. Laser or argon laser trabeculoplasty can be done uh, along with the medical line of therapy. And then finally, if the above two are not controlling intraocular pressure, then surgery, that is trabeculectomy, should be. So the treatment modalities are observation, medicine, laser, and surgery. There are different types of anti-glaucoma drugs. Uh, those which increase outflow, that is aqueous outflow, can be through trabecular meshwork with the help of miotics, that is pilocarpine, or uveoscleral outflow, that is prostaglandin analogs. We have drugs which decrease inflow or formation of aqueous humor. And here we have beta blockers, alpha 2 agonist, and carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. And the third class of drugs act by decreasing the volume, that is hyperosmotic agents. Coming to prostaglandin analogs, which increase uveoscleral outflow. The drugs in this group are latanoprost, bimatoprost, travoprost, and tafluprost. There are certain contraindications to use these drugs, that is uveitis, keratitis, and cystoid macular edema. Side effects are many, like hyperemia, long eyelashes, periocular hyperpigmentation, periorbitopathy, and flu-like symptoms. But it is a very potent anti-glaucoma drug, and the dose is once daily. It reduces intraocular pressure by more than 30%. So many times it is used as the first line of therapy for open angle glaucoma. Second line of drug is beta blockers, that is which decrease the inflow or formation of aqueous humor. Here we have non-selective and selective type of beta blockers. Non-selective are timolol, and then we have beta 1 selective, that is betaxolol. Here the contraindications are bronchial asthma, COPD, heart disease, thyroid disease or myasthenia gravis. Side effects are bronchospasm, bradycardia, heart block, punctate keratitis, corneal anesthesia, masking of hypoglycemic symptoms, and depression. The dose is twice daily and it reduces intraocular pressure by 25%. We have alpha 2 adrenergic agents which decrease inflow or formation as well as which increase outflow. The drugs in this group are apraclonidine and brimonidine. These drugs should not be used in children under 3 to 4 years as they cross blood-brain barrier and result in fatal respiratory arrest. Side effects are allergy, follicular conjunctivitis, foreign body sensation, eyelid edema, dry mouth, and fatigue. The doses are in the form of twice or thrice daily and they reduce intraocular pressure by 25%. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitors decrease inflow. We have topical carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, that is dorzolamide and brinzolamide, and systemic carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, that is acetazolamide or Diamox and methazolamide. Here side effects are many like paresthesias, metallic taste, hypokalemia, GI upset, lethargy, aplastic anemia, punctate keratopathy, corneal edema, burning. These drugs should be avoided in patients with hepatic or renal dysfunction. They reduce intraocular pressure by 20%. Parasympathomimetics, which increase outflow through trabecular meshwork, and these drugs are pilocarpine. Their side effects are many like ciliary muscle spasm, retinal detachment, meiosis, cataract formation, brow ache and headache, and the frequency is 4 times daily and they are not very potent, that is they reduce intraocular pressure by 20%. Hyperosmotic agents act by vitreous dehydration and here we have mannitol and glycerol. Side effects are nausea, vomiting, dehydration, hyponatremia, polyuria, renal failure, and they are used to acute reduction in intraocular pressure, that is especially in cases of narrow angle glaucoma. There are certain do's and don'ts when we are using anti-glaucoma drugs, that is do not combine two drugs with the same mechanism, recognize non-adherence and give written instructions to the patient, teach double dot technique to avoid side effects, that is close eyelids and also block punctum for 3 minutes. Also there should be gap of 5 minutes between two anti-glaucoma medicines. Argon laser trabeculoplasty. This is a laser therapy which is done for open angle glaucoma. Laser burns are applied to trabeculum to enhance aqueous outflow and lower intraocular pressure. The effect is not foolproof. IOP reduction is by 30%. And this is used basically for patients who are not compliant for anti-glaucoma drugs. But the cost of laser is there, so it is a costly therapy. Coming to the surgical therapy, that is trabeculectomy. Block of trabecular meshwork is removed by surgery and the fistula between angle of anterior chamber and subtenon space is created. Intraocular pressure is significantly lowered and it is done for failed medical therapy, laser or in advanced cases of open angle glaucoma. So the expected questions are differential diagnosis of gradual progressive diminution of vision and discuss clinical features and investigations of open angle glaucoma. Draw well-labeled diagram depicting visual field changes in open angle glaucoma. It can be a full question. Then there can be short notes on disc changes in open angle glaucoma, anti-glaucoma drugs. Many times timolol or prostaglandin analog is also asked in the exam. These are my references. Thank you.